thing you need to do about getting better is you need to work on a focused practice plan. You know, we hear this all the time when juniors will go out and beat balls on the range wherever, or maybe if they're really smart, they're working on their short game. But it needs to be a focused practice plan. It needs to be deliberate and tracked, and it must have some sort of personal best system, some sort of goals you get. My son was a competitive junior golfer in the 90s, and did very well, as you saw in the bio in the program today. Christopher always used some sort of personal best on the green. There was a drill that absolutely drove him nuts. It's called the 3-6-9 drill. And basically you had to make 3 putts from 3 feet in a row, 3 from 6 in a row, 3 from 9 in a row, 3 from 6 in a row, and 3 from 3 in a row, and not miss a one, and if you missed any of them, you had to start over. So his challenge was always to be able to do that the first time he stepped on the green each time to do it. Tough drill. Talk about making that 9th putt from 3 feet. It's brutal, but it simulates competition pressure. And he would also keep a book. He also had a small book where all these drills were, to which he kept his personal list. What was his personal record for 6-footers? How many 6-footers could he make? He was always trying to better his own mark. And it wasn't something where somebody was leaning over him and doing it. He just did it on his own. So when I work with players individually, which I do occasionally, I'm always getting them to do some sort of personal best system in their practice. Practice plan also has to be on a regular schedule, as your homework permits, as your family schedule permits, whatever commitments you have. But it has to be a regularly scheduled occurrence. And it has to be tied to scoring stats. You've got to keep scoring stats. One of the things I tell parents when you're walking on the course, if you're not mapping your sons or daughters' rounds, that's one of the things you could be doing for them. I'm not just talking about fairways hit and greens hit. I'm talking about much more sophisticated than that, where a scorecard can actually have a whole bunch of codes on it and dots and this all kinds of other things, in which you are helping your junior player keep track of what they're doing. Now, if they just shot 95, it's probably not a great time in the car on the way home to bring up all the stats. But somewhere along the line, your junior player really considers you part of their team. They're going to say, hey, how did I do today on putting? How did I do today on up and downs and all that kind of stuff? And I won't get into how to keep those stats. It take too much time. But you got to, listen, football teams have game film. Basketball teams have game film. And they're always using game film to analyze how their teams are playing. Your scoring stats are, in fact, your game film. That's your game film. That's where you judge yourself against how you're playing. I'll tell you one stat. If you want to be a good quality competitive junior golfer in this sport today, if you are not putting at 30 or below putts around, you are probably not going to be competitive. If you're at 33, 34, 35 putts around, you are not going to be competitive. Period. Okay, so we've been talking about building a plan and how do you do that. We've talked about getting better. Now we're going to talk about the plan part of it, which is the competitive schedule. You got to pick the right tournament. The tournament you should pick on 2 things. How do I get experience based upon where I am ability-wise? And how do I have visibility? If you're playing in the local YMCA 9-hole pitch and putt somewhere around town because there's a free gift card to McDonald's as a prize, you're not probably going to get a lot of visibility for that. Now, but you got to get, playing the Golf Association of Philadelphia events, and the events like the FCWT, IJGT, and those things that come in, those give you the kind of visibility. Why? Because they're ranked on the Junior Golf Scoreboard to begin with. Some are ranked in Golf Week, and some are ranked on the AJGA events are pretty much their own events. But Golf Week and us, we pretty much rank. Any tournament, any 36-hole tournament is going to give you that kind of visibility, right? You got to understand how tournaments pick fields. Sometimes it's first come, first serve. Just get your application in by the deadline, and you're good to go. Sometimes they do it by invitation, based upon your resume that you submit and where you played before. Sometimes they do it by handicap index. I mean, the USGA Junior Amateur has a minimum handicap index that you have to hit, or that or below, in order to be able to apply. Sometimes you earn your way in, like you're the winner of this, or you're the winner of that, or you're the top ranked player here. A lot of tournaments now are using us. You know, if you're ranked on the junior golf scoreboard in the top 200 or whatever in your class, you know, you can apply. So there are lots of different ways of understanding how tournaments pick field. You got to understand the AJGA performance-based entry system. I won't get into that. It's on their website. It's a big fancy column, complicated chart. But you know, if you're going to play AJGA events, you have to know how to get into those events, and it's very important that you spend some time understanding that. It looks very ominous when you pull up their grid, but you got to understand it. The next thing is, on your competitive schedules, you want to win at your level, but you still want to play better players. You need to win at whatever level you're playing. You need to learn to win. You need to learn to be in the hunt. You need to learn to be in the top 5, the top 3, whatever. It's important that you win at your level. But you also want to get in there a little bit of playing better players. So if you're a 13, 14-year-old and you're pretty much winning at your level, maybe you haven't won, but you've been there close a couple times, and you want to play up an age group, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, but not constantly. It's better to win at your own level and get confidence and meet the players who are your own age than to worry about the fact that you want to play against the big boys or the big girls. You need to pace your schedule. A lot of times people want to play lots of competitive junior golf in the summertime. I am absolutely not a fan of that, where it's the point where you're playing 4 tournaments 4 weeks in a row. That's not good. The pros don't do it. The amateurs don't do it. The college kids don't do it. Don't you do it. So a good schedule, you can play 2 weeks in a row if you can afford it. You're playing a lot of competitive events, then playing 2 on and 1 off. In other words, 2 weeks in a row and taking a week off is very good. Getting into the swimming pool in the summertime, having a light week, practicing the same thing, sleeping in your own bed is good. It's great. So don't overschedule yourself. Your competitive schedule should be managed by year. 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. If you're in 8th grade and 9th grade or this, that, and the other thing, focusing on regional tournaments is fine. You do not need to travel all across the country constantly to play in big national events. Maybe you have one good family trip where you go to Junior World or something like that. But playing in whatever area events here in Philadelphia, the state of Pennsylvania, is fine when you're in the 8th grade and 9th grade. Unless you are a very top competitive junior golfer and you get invited to lots of different places, and that's a different case. But playing, keeping the budget down, not spending a lot of money, this, that, and the other thing is okay. And state golf associations and regional associations have a great selection of affordable, good tournaments. So playing in their events is important. Meeting kids in your own area is important. That's all part of it. Okay. The biggest focus you need to have on your competitive schedule is the critical 18 months. That's the spring of your sophomore year in high school to the fall of your senior year. That's 2 competitive summers. Those are the critical 18 months where you really need to be focusing on your competitive schedule, because that's your peak period of visibility to college coaches. Prior to that, it's not so critical. But in that particular 18 months, it's very critical. All right, choosing the right tournament. Understanding the types of events. All right, I'm going to go back to that for a second. Understanding the types of events. There are invitational events, there are first come, first serve events, there are obviously match play events. Make sure you understand what they are, what the differences are between each one. You can also research last year's tournament. What makes a good tournament? Well, if you go to the Junior Golf Scoreboard and you want to see if the FCW plays, FCWT is playing over in New Jersey, and you kind of want to know what was the caliber of that tournament, you can go on the Junior Golf Scoreboard and go back and look at the old tournaments. You can see how many players were there. You can see what kind of scores were shot in that tournament. And so you can always research last year's tournament on our website. And we're the only place you can go.